Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome back. I said I was going to be doing this over the live stream. Unfortunately, it is 4:51 a.m. I haven't been to bed yet. It is currently a day I need to go to work. I was stuck last night watching a show that actually got me super into it, and I lost track of time. And the next thing you know, it's suddenly 3 in the morning, and there I am, getting coffee, thinking to myself, man, today is going to be a really long day, but Eh, yeah, it's gonna be an absolute blast. Anyways, I had someone on my channel about 2 months ago asked me if I could do a little bit of gameplay inside the 268 version 5, showing off how I play inside this tank. Now, I want to go over a little bit of the history of this tank. This thing has been shadow buffed a total of 2 times. The second time, I kind of don't really think it's a shadow buff, but I guess you could technically say it was a shadow buff. They did a little bit of a rework on the armor without telling anybody, but it was supposed to be inside the patch notes, but it wasn't actually in the patch notes. But the biggest shadow buff that they ever did to this tank was actually its base view range. So, once upon a time, I would say, 3 years ago, whenever I first did my review on the 268 version 5, it only had 360 base view range. This is kind of where it should have been at, in all honesty, but out of nowhere, they decided to not tell anybody that they were going to be buffing the view range of this tank to 390, which suddenly made this tank destroyer, which has actually really good concealment, 338 stationary. This is probably in the range of like 0.27, 0.28%, like a 28% to 30% concealment rating. And then stationary with a really good camo crew. This thing's camouflage becomes really dumb. Sitting at 250 meters, you can imagine how that goes with your 152 caliber weapon. Along with that, once upon a time, the hull of this tank used to be 120 millimeters. The best comparison to that would actually be a heavy tier 9. Yeah, tier 9. It would be comparable to the T10, because that's the exact same model it was based off of. But whenever we look at the T10, you're going to notice it's 120 in the lower plate and 120 on the top, going all the way down the back. Now, if we head back over to the version 5, you'll notice that it's slightly changed. Instead of 120 on the sides here, it's now 130. The lower plate is still 120 millimeters thick, and along with that, your top armor is just 160. The top plate, I don't believe it's changed. It's still at 60. I want to say it was at 50 beforehand, but I could be wrong. I think it's always been at 60. They also did a little bit of buff work on the turret. They did increase the armor coming across this in multiple aspects. It used to not be this thick of a turret, in all honesty, but 250 millimeters, 230. A lot of people tell me that they like to play this tank as kind of like a semi-heavy. My personal opinion is, sure. I mean, if you can play it correctly and you can utilize the, I want to say 5 degrees, yeah, 5 degrees of gun depression, 13.5 second reload on this thing, yeah, you can play it like a heavy. I mean, you're effectively going to be out trading anybody that's in front of you with 850 alpha, unless you're versing a heavy with a 6-second reload. But even then, you're going to deliver 2 for their 2, maybe their 3 or 4. I guess it always lines up to be the exact same amount in the end. Anyways, enough dilly-dallying. Let's jump into a couple of matches inside this and see how the matches turn out. Other than that, let's go see if I can put 395 heat round through the face of a E5. And Hell Baron, a lot of TDs on the enemy team. It is kind of early, so, I mean, personally, we're going to be seeing, okay, that's not a bot. That's a bot. That's not a bot. Okay. And that is a bot. So we have 2 bots in the enemy team. Silent Hunter X is a bot. Full Candy. These are bots. So, unfortunately, that's what matchmaking comes down to early in the morning. I would rather spend like a minute and a half in the queue time to get a full game. Or if it's not a full game, give us like 10 versus 10 on like Mines or Ghost Town or something. Like, find a way to, play smart with the matchmaking. Even if you have to put like a lower amount of people instead of a lobby, that's completely fine. I just absolutely hate going against bots. Like, it's just brain dead. A bot is either gonna automatically pin your top plate because they never miss whenever they aim at you, while on the move, and they wiggle their gun in very strange ways, but I mean, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. We're probably going to see it, and it's just going to snap our lower plate. That could be a massive factor. Anyways, people like to camp up here, so what we're going to do is let's hit this. Okay, that's one of the bots. I honestly don't want to shoot that thing, but I might have to, because I don't want to get detected by it. Out of range, that's 398. And Silent Hunter X is another one of the bots. As you can see, they just love to pull out. They have massive, massive brains. See, just out in the open, confused in where he got shot from. And then I got detected by... that. I was moving a little bit in the background, which does ruin your camouflage value. If you're going to be sitting behind stuff trying to snipe, make sure that you're not moving. If you're moving, you do get a little bit less concealment value. Alright, let's take a look here. They do got some scary TDs. 2 Death Stars and E3. The 114 is not exactly super scary, but it is precise. Running into one of those is a little bit uncomfortable. Speaking of which, that 114 is actually a really good tank, the SP2. It doesn't have the thickest armor, but it has enough. So you can bait shells with its front plate, you can side scrape with it, you can do pretty much anything with that tank. It's just that you gotta play with a little bit of a different mindset inside that tank. Alright, let's pull down, let's wait a second. Because once he's unspotted, he's gonna want to pull back up. Maybe. That's a really big maybe, but I don't want him to know that I'm here. Let's wait for him to kind of overexpose just a tad bit. And then we'll pop out and put our 850 into him. Ross Arante is a little bit close up. He took a shot, so he's probably going to try and come and punish the Ross. No? Oh. There we go. We're going to pull now. There we go. 823. And now it's time for us just to pull off completely and hit her on the backside. A little bit of freebie shot there. That's pretty nice. Oh, wow. That's a lot of guys coming up from behind. Do I feel like I need to go back? I kind of feel like I need to go back a little bit. Maybe not. I think I'll be okay just to take on the 114. He's almost dead. He's a one-shot. Easy pull, probably prop up on this. He heard the tree. I should have avoided hitting that tree. Never mind, I was actually wrong. And there we go for 850 against us, which means E3. E3 is still down over here. Don't get me wrong, that's a slow tank, so that's kind of guaranteed. Maybe pop the hill. Now, this thing does have armor. It does have a hatch. Don't get me wrong, like, if enemy AP rounds, like standard 258, even some regular old-fashioned tier 8 are not going to have much problems going through this turret if they're aiming at the right spot. This tank does feel like it suffers a little bit against heat rounds, though. Especially against itself, but then again, against itself, I mean, we're talking about 395 heat pens, so... that E3 has got to be somewhere... Alright, he caught me out, which means... I might have actually gotten spotted by that medium that pulled up right there. Oh my, as I proceed to cough my guts out. Good morning! Alrighty, there's actually a TD right here. It's a Death Star. He might have been pulling up to get spots on me. We should have a good shell here in the lower plate. Probably going to be loading in the heat. E3 is not going to pull down until he fires, which he just did. Still have... ooh, really good shot right here. 806, a little bit lower than our base alpha, but that's okay. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, this is a slow game. Helberon, this is how this map always goes. This one turns into a really awkward snipe fest. There we go. Heat run into the side armor. I think it's like 44 millimeters on it. It's not that thick at all. Real easy takedown. A little bit of a slow match, but 4,300. That's not bad. 5,000 combined. Made 3,600. Well, 36,000. 3,600. I'm having a brain fart. Yeah, damage setting on this has gone down a little bit. Then again, it's probably been like, I don't know, 4 months since I played my version 5. Alright, Lakeville on the northern spawn. Honestly, if each time I hit about this map, like, I want to snipe, I want to try and show off other positions, but I always love to get down and dirty in the front row. So I'll show off the spots that I like to sit whenever I don't feel like we can actually handle it, as I'm pulling into my spot. This back section right here, if you knock this tree over towards that rock, you can actually kind of peek around the rock and stay a little bit concealed. Right here, same way. You can pretty much just get behind this right here, depending on what hatch you have. You can actually do it on both sides right here. You can back up behind these two rocks to get shots up on top. Or you can park on this rock, depending on which side your hatch is on. If it's on the right side, like the version 5 right here, you can kind of peek around like this consistently and keep yourself partially defended. But my favorite spot of all is 78 degrees of gun depression right there. That's one of my favorite spots. Then you do have your brawling situations where you're just going to get up in there. I can't believe that Manticore pulled on me like that. Then again, I wasn't paying attention, nor trying to get a shot into him. Kratos. 178 Wild, thank you for sending me a friend request. And there is no artillery this game too, so it's going to be a little bit nice. IS-7. I'm actually just going to go ahead and load the heat right away, because I'm such a nice guy inside my version 5. This tree, if you can knock it down backwards, depending on what you're in, you can get some pretty good concealment inside this spot. Kinda wish I had advanced reload right there. And it looks like that version 5 isn't going to be backing off. So, we're going to load a high explosive. Alright, so we got 174, 216 right here. And just kick back and wait. There we go. Gonna load another high explosive. Hopefully somebody hits that, okay, thank you. We're already halfway through the reload, so I'm just gonna pop this in and probably track the IS, or maybe splash underneath the tracks. For 198, I'm completely fine with that. Yeah, the IS is a little bit uncomfortable, but if we can, should be able to pin aside completely from here. Yep, 848. And even if there was artillery in this map, this is still kind of a hard spot to dig out. It's not like super hard to dig out. It is kind of easy. So I don't recommend sitting here unless there's no artillery in the enemy team. This is working out really well. The IS is, he should have sat back, in all honesty. Pulling up like that was not a good play on his part. But those Highlanders are extremely hesitant in pulling this. And I don't know why. I got a Strum Tiger right there. Kind of wondering if I should pull in. Jagdpanzer 100, Highlander. Maybe not. These Highlanders probably have shots of my Strummy. IS is pulling back. A little bit too early on that shot. I do want to be a little bit more conservative with my heat rounds, though. What are you doing? We have these guys in a really good hold. You should pull back. Maybe not. He actually might have the right play. But pulling those autoloaders, I really don't want to pull in those autoloaders. Sitting right here, I have them kind of on a halt. They don't want to pull. Because it's like, they have to aim at one of us, and then whichever one they aim at, the other one gets shots. Because I'm not going to fire. I'm going to hold. Unless he's facing the Strum. If he's facing Strum, then I'll fire. These guys are extremely hesitant, and our other side's just going to get mopped up if this continues. Now for the Highlanders, I can't remember if they have APCR or Heat. I think they have APCR for the premium. So I can still bounce their shells consecutively if I pull on them. But it's not guaranteed. The Highlander pulled up just a tad bit. There we go. Now the question is, do we finish off or do we kill? You know, let's finish off. See if we can hit that ammo rack. Ooh, kinda wish I was loading a high explosive right now. We're gonna swap into the high explosive and guarantee the kill on this Highlander. Hopefully that backside can be held. But I have to make slight play here. He might actually be on reload. Ooh. Ooh. Because we're gonna put another HE into the IS-7. And then we're going to save a heat round for that Yagaru. Unless Yagaru pulls. If Yagaru pulls, then it's going to be a different story. But I'm definitely going to want to load one more heat round for this Yag. I can't guarantee pull this guy. So I kind of want to see if I can bait a shell. But I kind of doubt it. Ah, there's no baiting, not with this type of armor. Yeah, Conway coming up from behind. I mean, not bad, 5,700. Kind of a really awkward hold in that last little bit there, and no one really wanted to push. Because, I mean, why would you want to push against 850 alpha, 395 heat pin? You see, that's what this thing is really good at. You have a big gun that scares people, and you have enough armor to be able to prevent them from wanting to come over. You know, another thing about the version 5 that I really enjoy is the fact that it has 48 top speed, 15 power to weight, so you got a really good power to weight. And then your reverse speed is 15, so you got that little bit of a comfortable reverse speed to pull back fast enough to completely disappear and hide. Really helps out. Along with the speed of the tank, you also have really good terrain resistance, which really helps this thing out. Alright, come on, Death Star. I don't think he's going to pull out. I think he knows that he's being aimed at. That little target indicator. Alright, so that targeted indicator is now going off for the 4005, but now if I look away, it's not going off anymore. So if I lock my gun on him and look away and then fire, that little exclamation point's not popping up, but he still took damage. So you can really confuse people if they feel safe if they're being aimed at or not. And it's another way to really abuse people that don't use Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is such a massively valuable perk in game. Let you know when you're spotted and when you can safely fire at times. 837. What's up with all these low rolls? I haven't seen any high rolls yet. Like the 900, 980s. Or even 1,000. Shot a couple of rounds, so I mean, maybe my morning RNG is not the greatest today. He's on fire. I'm just going to let him burn. There's no point in me taking that XP away from the WZ. Really awkward position here. It's a well-known position too, so it's kind of weird to sit here like this. I'm a little bit uncomfortable. It is 12 to 14. I do want to kind kind of put a little bit more pressure down. This might be the map that I can play a little bit of Brawly. Maybe not, because of the 4005s that are all camped up on top. 846, just shy of 850. Come on, can I get an average roll? I mean, those are all technically considered average rolls, but it's just... It takes away, you know, like you see that 850 alpha and you want to see that big number. I mean, don't get me wrong, we put a high explosive in the one. Chisel, I had a shot in that chisel. There's a chance I still have a shot in that chisel. Side of the turret? Yeah. Side of the turret. And we're spotted now. That might be the Tyran that pulled up right here. $840. That poor chisel. I am so sorry. You know, ever since they nerfed the chisel and then they called it a nerf, I kind of giggled at it. If they wanted to really nerf the chisel, the view range was not what they needed to do. What they really needed to do to nerf that chisel would have been the power to weight. Because the fact that it has all that extra spaced armor on top, and it still has the same power to weight as the tier 10 variant of the hull, kind of takes away from the entire point of nerfing it. Because it's like the 48 patent is known to have that 420 view range. If they wanted to really nerf that tank, the power to weight would have been the way to do it. 868, and we left him just shy of 1 hit point away from getting knocked down. This is an awkward spot to be sitting at. Tusk is just trying to throw shells my way. Kind of want to give him the opportunity to do so. Same time, it is 6 to 9 right now. But we do know where a lot of them are. And a lot of them are low health. So we can technically bring this back, but we're going to have to really put in the work for it. Alright, that is the 1390, so we're just going to back off right here. For a moment there, I thought, oh, that is one of my tanks that got ammo racked. I thought that was a part of the map. Tyran did a drop back. Alright, that's a good play in the Tyran's part. Kind of think we're going to want to be pulling up over here. Get up at the sidelines. And pull up top. And go from there. As I'm looking at the clock, you know, entering panic mode. Tusk Bursk Fleury. Oh, I really wish I had a high explosive loaded right now. And what's up with all the low rolls? 786? I mean, I'm landing my shots at least, but come on. $794. It is 3 to 9. Yeah, if we can somehow bring this back, I would be very surprised right now. You know what? That Tyran's probably actually rushing up, so I'm going to load a high explosive. Alright, what's over here? ATX 60. Something tells me Tyran's going to be pulling here in a second. Because we all know how those guys are in their Tyrans. They like to... Once it's down to the last little bit, they like to get a little bit aggressive inside their Tyran. I have 3 opportunities, and I think none of them are going to work. And... 704, Tyran. Tyran's actually a lot lower health than I thought. I mean, I just got overwhelmed, so there's not exactly a whole lot that I can do right there. Defeat. Not a bad match for the start off, though. 7,000 damage, 994 assisted. Unfortunately, that was a lot of low rolls, though. Like, how often did I break 850 damage in that round? Thing is like, the matches you guys have seen, how often am I in the thick of it? Am I rushing in? No. To me, the version 5... was never meant to be played like a heavy tank. It's more to be played like a holder. You have enough armor to pull on an area and kind of just make the enemy team hesitate pulling that corner. Scotty on my way. Scotty, beam me up. some Star Trek reference for you guys out there. But I never found this tank to be one that I want to use to like be a feu de lance. If you guys know what the meaning of that is, it's a tip of the spear tip. This is just one of those tanks that I seriously feel like it never needed any of the buffs that it got, but everyone is playing this tank like it's a heavy tank because it's got a fully rotatable turret. But in all reality, this is your mid-range to long-range sniper. It's not meant to be in the thick of it ever. If you're taking this into the front row, you're making a lot of mistakes just because you don't have the armor to support it. Now, there is a 4005 here. I kind of feel like I should have shuffled out to a high explosive, but it might be a good thing that I didn't. I had an opportunity to take the shot right there, but I didn't take it. Now, that's spaced armor on his cheeks right there. And 780. Was that a good trade? That was actually one heck of a snapshot in the hatch. In all honesty, though, 780, that doesn't surprise me. That thing's got a really good gun. But he is going to find out real quick. That's an OE3. I need to back up. Uh-oh. But with the buffs that they did do, I will say you are allowed to take a little bit more of a risky peek in a couple of situations. So maybe it's not all bad. And that CC1, at least he's loading AP. Rather than the heat round. This might not exactly be the best match to show off inside this tank, because I might be struggling. Because this is kind of the way that it ends up in these close quarters engagement. You don't have the armor to really do this. Like, sure, you have armor, but you don't have the armor to handle this kind of engagement. Drawn out peekaboos, trying to rely on your turret armor. It's just not thick enough. Against, like, tier 8s, yeah, your armor is good enough, but against tier 10, no. That's where you will start to find it to be a little bit on the lacking side of things, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And a Roofless is pulling up. And I mean, right there, we got heavy-duty pin, 310 AP pin, really heavy-duty Hesh round. I mean, if we try to pull that, we're going to die. Highlander. If the Roofless just fired, I might pull. I think the Roofless did just fire. On the CC, if you have a heavy enough turret to go against it, the little bars on the top left and right, like the canister bars, that's actually spaced armor on the tier 9. And from what I know, the tier 9 is the only one that has that weak spot. So version 5, E3, and then our AVRE. But judging, I think this version 5 might let the E3 pull up on us first. Guaranteed, because the E3's full. Roofless taking a big hit. And taking another. There we go. See, like, as the match draws out, that's whenever the version 5 can really start to show off. And I do want to be a little bit careful. There we go. Underneath the 780. That 780's got a really high profile underneath the tank. Like, the thing sits a mile and a half above. Ooh, that's the E3. Let's do this. Let's load a HE in. Request some fire. So Yagru, please pull on that as I try to get behind. Centurion AVRE. Do I want to pull this? I don't really think I do. I had the wrong round loaded. 428 high explosive into his hatch. I do believe he just used his repair kit, so he's out. And somehow taking MVP that match. I'm a little bit confused on how. Really good damage spread across the board. Anyways, that's a 268 version 5. I find this thing to be a really good tank. I don't really have a whole lot to say about it, except for it's been in the game a long time, and TDs that are getting the view range now of medium tanks or even some heavy tanks, and having more alpha. Like the one comparison that you can compare the version 5 to, that it has slowly had a power creep in the game, is compare the 60 TP to this. This thing will always outtrade the 60 TP in every single engagement. I mean, not every single engagement. Like a really good majority of the time, the version 5 will always catch out a 60 TP without much of a problem, because it has the same view range, but has way better concealment, and this thing can remain concealed upon firing, while a heavy tank can't. So the best way to play the version 5 is not really as like a front row brawler, but more of that supporting role tank, or trying to use it for a heavy flank. Unfortunately, I wasn't really able to use HE inside this match, except for like a 4005. But, you know, I always recommend to take a couple of high explosive shells. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one, and yeah, I guess I'll catch you in the next one. I hope you guys have a great day, afternoon, night, whatever time you guys are catching this. And hopefully I stopped speaking in broken English, because I'm just a little bit tired. Anyways, till next time, I'm out of here.